Like many of you here today, I am ambitious, I'm a go-getter, I'm driven, and I really like to get things done. In college, that mostly looked like getting A's, landing great internships, running clubs, and of course, meeting my wonderful boyfriend. After I graduated, it looked much the same, except, with adulting. So I landed 2 jobs that I really wanted. I negotiated a promotion in my second job. I moved into the big city with that same boyfriend, and we celebrated our 4-year anniversary. Overall, I felt like I was doing so good and like I was on the right track. But despite everything on the outside, on the inside, I felt like I wanted to die. Not to the point of taking action or committing suicide, but to the point where there were many weekends when I didn't have a to-do list that I would just lay on my bed or on the floor, and I couldn't find the will to get up, even just to take a quick walk. And my thoughts would just consume me at this time. Thoughts like, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep trying. It's not worth it. And I just want to be left alone. But this wasn't the first time that I had experienced depression. I had tried so many things to try and feel better already. I talked to many different kinds of therapists. I talked to pastors and shamans just to cover my bases. I bought 5 different adult coloring books just to see if it would reduce my stress. I tried different psych meds to see if my brain needed chemical balancing. And I even adopted 2 therapy cats. That's where we're at. But most of my life, I had approached it by trying to fix and get rid of and manage and ultimately just cure my depression so that I could be the ambitious go-getter version of myself that I knew I was at my core. But I'm here today because none of that really worked for me. It did to a certain extent, but it felt more like putting Band-Aids on a giant wound that would just keep reopening and reopening. Up until last year, I really didn't understand why, if I was doing well and I was checking off the boxes and I was moving forward, why did I want to die? Since I started working on this speech, I've had the pleasure of talking to so many people about their process and experience with mental health. Many people have gotten stuck at the same exact point, feeling like they're never going to get better, and this is how they're always going to feel. But that's why I'm really excited to share my speech with you today, because it's about how I got my joy back. But last year, I was not in a good place. It had been a whole new rock bottom for me, because it had been months since I actually felt normal and like my emotions weren't overwhelming me. And it was really frustrating because I started to have panic attacks again, which was annoying because I had learned how to manage those and I hadn't had one since I graduated college. This time though, instead of turning externally to find an answer, I chose something different. I sat with myself, I turned internally, and I asked myself, why do I want to die? This time, it was not an accusation, but rather a genuinely honest, open, non-judgmental, self-curious question. And at first, my answers were more surface level, as you could imagine, like, man, I can't figure out how to lose enough weight, am I ever going to be thin enough? Or I keep snapping at my poor boyfriend, I really don't deserve him. Or I just started this new job and I hate it. Am I ever going to find something that I love? But the most honest answer at my core was, I am trying to avoid some discomfort and pain. Huh? That was so vague. What discomfort and pain? So I left my journaling over that last time, and I started to explore what this discomfort and pain looked like in my day-to-day life. And you have to understand, this was a whole new way of living for me, because previously, when those day-to-day issues and frustrations came up, I would really just try and push through them and dismiss them. And when things didn't work out, I'd start to blame myself and say I'm too needy or too emotional or just too undisciplined. But now, every time I felt unhappy, anxious, depressed, frustrated, exhausted, overwhelmed, I would stop, I'd turn internally, and I'd ask myself why, in that same open, non-judgmental way that I did before. Based on those answers, I would take action, choose thoughts, and make everyday choices that aligned with those newfound truths. What I found by implementing this over this last year was actually kind of shocking to me. I had gotten to the point of suicidal depression just by making everyday choices that went against me, myself, and my values. It was a death by 1,000 small, seemingly insignificant self-betrayals. And I have a feeling many of you might be doing the same things in your life, maybe small, maybe bigger, but you might not even realize it. So let me give you an example. I love swing dancing, and I was swing dancing weekly in college. And I even helped bring the swing dancing club here on campus. Once I graduated, I continued to swing dance, just with less frequency, because, we're all busy. But this pattern started to happen. It had been months since I had actually enjoyed going out dancing. And this one night, the same pattern happened. I'd finally get up off the couch, turn off Netflix, and we'd get to the dance, me and my boyfriend, and before the night was even halfway through, I'd find myself being miserable and curmudgeon-y, and I would be snapping at my boyfriend. It was during those moments that I would go into what I now call my negativity vortex, where nothing's good, everything's the worst, I'm the worst, and I can't make it better. And I'd start thinking to myself, Nicole, you gotta start enjoying this. You already made time to go out, so don't waste it. Why can't you just have some fun? Just relax a little bit. But because I was on this self-curiosity mission, I stopped myself and I asked myself, why? Why am I so unhappy right now? And the answer was soft and simple. I'm tired. It's too crowded here for me to have fun. And I just want to go home. That's it. Nothing big. So now, when I want to go home, I choose to go home. And I don't have to justify it to myself or criticize myself into staying longer. And that's a huge shift because now I have my hobby back. And I want to go out dancing and I want to spend time out. Now, for you guys, you might not have experienced it in the same way I did. You may just be sitting somewhere feeling like, I don't want to be here, and feeling kind of grumpy. But do you see how this was all just a matter of me not respecting my own personal boundaries? It seems simple, and yet I had never really learned how to do that. And I never would have if I kept trying to blame myself and my depression and not listen to what it was trying to tell me. My depression was trying to show me my limits, and it was trying to show me that I was disrespecting my own personal boundaries. The depression was not the problem, it was me not listening to myself. So you see, in 1,000 ways, I uncovered that I was doing this on a daily basis in small, everyday ways that just accumulated to me being incredibly unhappy. But now, I'm able to recognize them a lot faster and adjust my thoughts and actions much more quickly. I want to share another example with you. This one was made more unconsciously, but it's in the same vein. When I was here on campus in college, everyone was going to parties since freshman year. It's kind of fun because you get to meet new people, you get to develop relationships with your friends, you get to make fun memories, you get to dance a little bit. So it was kind of fun. But I started to notice a pattern. Every time I would be invited out, I'd say yes, but I kind of wouldn't be feeling it. And then when I'd go out, it would be kind of fun, but I'd feel sort of disconnected and like I wasn't very present. So what I realized in hindsight is that this went against my personal values. But in the moment, I would go into my negativity vortex and I'd say, Nicole, don't be a hermit. This is where you're going to make your friends. This is where you're going to make your memories. Just stay out a little bit longer. Partying went against my values, and every time I chose to go out, it was disrespecting myself. And it's not against everyone's values, but it was against mine. I didn't really drink. I don't want to do drugs. I already had a boyfriend, and honestly, I'm pretty much a baby grandma, so I like to stay in and sleep and wake up on the weekends and be super productive. It was until junior year that I finally was able to say, no, thank you. And I stopped going out. And honestly, I was really happy. But you see, honoring yourself and your boundaries and your values, it comes with consequences. I ended up losing a lot of my friends that year, and that sucked. It hurt, and I felt very lonely. But I continued to make that choice and say, no, thank you, because I knew it's what aligned with my values, and that was the most important to me. What I realize now is that that choice opened up the space, the time, and the energy for me to make the friends that I have now. And we got to bond over things like Doctor Who, or personal development, or just studying. And the reason I'm still friends with those people today is because these were people who aligned with my values, and with whom I could be my whole true self with, and who I could live my truth out with, even today. So you see, I was looking for something big. And it's not always what you see on ABC and Netflix. Things like post-9/11 survivor's guilt, or intense bullying and rape. It is sometimes, but that wasn't the case for me. For me, it was just a series of everyday choices where I continued to make them, and it negotiated me, my values, and my boundaries until I had just completely negotiated myself out of my life. It takes immense courage to actually choose not to negotiate yourself in every single moment. Especially because I had been doing this my whole entire life, so it required a complete overhaul of how I talked to people and how I interacted and the choices that I made. It's hard because it brought up a lot of anxiety and fear and confusion and uncertainty. But I guarantee you it's worth it. It'll require the same thing of you: continuous self-curiosity, relentless faith in yourself, and for you to take massive action. And when I say massive action, again, it doesn't need to be big. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it can be as small as choosing to say no to an invite to a Saturday night, or allowing yourself to leave early after dance. But the most important part here is that it needs to be bold, brave, and truthful to yourself. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, suicide has increased nearly 30% over the last 2 decades. And it's easier now than ever to find help for depression and anxiety. In 2016, that meant that over 45,000 people died from suicide. And that's just those who died, not those who attempted. For those aged 10 to 34, suicide is the second leading cause of death. That means that every student on this campus is not even halfway through that high-risk range. And I don't want anyone here in this room or on this campus to be a statistic. I know I could have been, but I'm not, because I chose to stop trying to manage and fix and get rid of my overwhelming emotions and my depression, and instead, I chose to learn and listen to the truth it was trying to tell me and utilize that equally to the go-getter version of myself to now define this whole new path I have in my life. And that's what I want to share with you today. There are 3 main steps that really help me integrate this into my life, whether it be with depression, anxiety, or just general overwhelm. Step 1 is celebrate the good. I want you to start consciously noticing every single day the things that you're choosing to do or the thoughts that you're choosing to think that actually align with who you are and who you want to be. Acknowledging and celebrating this will help you continue that process consciously. Step 2 is get curious about the bad. This is what I've been talking about this whole time. It's those moments when you feel your muscles tense, your body cave in from depression, your breath gets shallow from anxiety, or you hear yourself getting into your negativity vortex. I want you to stop. Remove yourself from that space if you need to. Take a deep breath. Turn internally and ask yourself, what triggered this emotion and why? In that same open, non-judgmental way I've been talking about. Step 3 is to take massive action. This is going to be my challenge to you. Again, massive doesn't need to be big. It just needs to be brave, bold, and truthful to who you are. For you guys, it might look completely different. It might mean setting new boundaries with your family. It might mean speaking up at work, even though your heart starts racing. And it might just mean taking one small step to explore your dream career. Ultimately, the goal here is for you to be in complete alignment with your truth, both in action and in thought, all the time. No matter how scared, no matter how many consequences, no matter the fear, always choosing your truth first. Because this is where the magic's going to happen. For me, by implementing this over this last year, I've had the chance to completely transform my life. I'm now working a full-time job as a career coach, which is so fulfilling and brings me a lot of value. I am snapping at my boyfriend less, which is great, and we celebrated our 5-year anniversary, and we're deepening our relationship. I got to start my own coaching business, which was incredibly scary, but now I get to help clients all over the country transform their lives. And it's why I get to be here with you guys today. These everyday choices, they compounded to me completely now enjoying my life. I have a genuine love for living again. And I have my joy back. I promise you, if you follow the 3 steps that I talked about, celebrate the good, get curious about the bad, and take massive action, you are going to be living way more truthfully and joyfully very quickly. And you will start to experience the magic too. Thank you.